I used to literally think that I was too stupid to ever learn a second language to fluency, but I did it and I did it really fast. Like I went from knowing only how to say burrito to becoming a professional Spanish interpreter in about 2 years. This is the first time I'm ever telling this story publicly on video about how I did it, but I'm also going to tell you how you're going to learn Spanish at least twice as fast as I did. So here it goes, coming to you straight from South America. This is the story. Let's go back to before YouTube even ever existed. Most people thought that only geniuses could learn a second language to absolute fluency. And if someone like us, a normal person, wanted to just get by in a second language, well, we could go down to the library, get some language books, and see how much would stick in our limited brains. Well, at least that's what we thought. So when I finally decided that I wanted to learn Spanish, that's exactly what I did. I went down to the bookstore and the library and I got as many books as I could get my hands on. Right off the bat, I noticed that there was something wrong. All of these resources had at least one of these two major problems. So the first major problem that I saw with a lot of these books and resources were that many of them were written by these professor type of people, and they would present it in such a way to where when they were done, they could take a step back and admire what they put on paper, so to speak, as well as other professors, linguists, and academic type of people. But for the average Joe like us that are starting from day one, never studied this language in their life, it's not really presented in a logical way to actually learn the language efficiently. So a comparison would be this. Imagine like some kind of a mechanical engineer showed you this beautiful machine that they built, and then they told you the name of every part and what every part does. It is beautiful, but they didn't actually present to you how to put this machine together, starting from day one, piece one to piece two, connect to the next thing, and it doesn't help you at all. You can look at it and go, that's great that you're able to do it, but how does that help me learn to do that? So that is one of the big problems that I saw with a lot of these resources. Oh, and to make it worse, even their explanations were super hard to understand because they're using all these linguistic terms that nobody uses. They're using phrases and sentences, like just speaking in some kind of like academic type of way, to where I would need a dictionary, an English dictionary, just to understand the explanation of this new thing they're trying to teach me. And that's not helpful at all. Now that I think about it, I think that some of these projects they did just for their ego. Like they're imagining someone is, studying their book and thinking, wow, I'm learning all this knowledge from this very smart person, and I hope that I can just grab a couple of crumbs that fall off of their table. And it didn't seem like they're actually trying to help people learn languages. And the second major problem that I was seeing with a lot of these Spanish learning resources were the ones that were marketed as quote unquote easy. Honestly, I think that these ones were probably even worse because the vocabulary that they were trying to teach you in Spanish and the sentences and the phrases that they were trying to teach you were absolutely horrible. Like, the ball is purple, or he is a boy. What do they think I'm doing? Delivering babies and have some kind of psychotic obsession with the colors of things? Don't get me wrong, at that time I was learning Spanish very fast, but it was absolutely no thanks to any of those Spanish books and resources. So yeah, I was learning Spanish faster than the average Spanish language student, but I could still feel that I could have been learning faster if I had just had something, some kind of help. Something was missing, and I knew that I could have been learning Spanish faster at that time. So months go by, and then I get this idea. Why don't I just start focusing on learning the parts of Spanish that are not coming to me naturally while I'm getting all of this immersion, aka the harder parts of learning Spanish? So I did that, and then boom, immediately my Spanish started skyrocketing. And that was the magic formula. Well, almost. Fast forward a bit, and now I'm working as a professional Spanish interpreter, even doing work for the government. But that's another story for another day. Right now, this is about you and how you're gonna learn Spanish crazy fast. And to explain that to you, we have to talk about that magic formula that I mentioned to you. After I was already super comfortable with Spanish, I realized that the formula, as great as it was, could be even better. Do you remember that I was telling you that I was focusing on the harder parts of the Spanish language? Well, there was still a problem. And the problem was I still had to use those resources that were the only thing that were available to me. So I'm digging through those, cherry picking, looking for what I needed to find in them. And it's basically like digging through a trash can trying to find something decent to eat. Do you know what I mean? But I thought long and hard about that and then came up with a solution of how you should break down the Spanish language and then present it piece by piece to the learner. It was at that point that I realized that I was gonna one day give the world a resource that was gonna change the way that people learn Spanish. I didn't start making it right then. I actually spent the next decade, well, over a decade, with that secret in my head, not knowing when I was actually gonna pull the trigger and create it. And then, in March of 2020, the world stood still. I was in Bolivia, locked in my house, looking at the snow-capped Andes Mountains through my window, and I said to my wife, I'm going to write this workbook. It's been in my head for over a decade, and now it's time to give it to the world. So believe it or not, by this time I'm actually working with Hollywood actors and powerful politicians as a language consultant and accent coach, but I let go of almost all of these high-profile clients so that my new job was solely to create this system for you. Let me say that again, but in a different way. My wife and I lived off of mostly savings for almost an entire year to be able to bring to you something that's gonna completely change the direction of your life and open up doors that you never thought would actually happen. So if you're the kind of person that actually accomplishes the things on your bucket list, that's a doer and not just a talker, a person that's determined to do lots of cool stuff in your life before this short amount of time comes to an end, and you're ready to learn Spanish fast, I present to you the hybrid workbook called The Spanish Nerd.